Hello there, and welcome to Tapcaf Transmissions, the only Star Wars podcast where people don't talk about who's going to do the intro before the podcast actually starts. I'm Corey, joined as always by Justin Eckhart's Ladder. How are you doing today, Justin?
Good. I was thinking about doing like another intro, but I didn't think it'd be that funny. So I'll just say dark greetings, and it's nice to see you.
Do you want to just like run through what that would have been, and then we can decide if we'll go with that one?
No, that's why I didn't really do it. I wasn't sure.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
All right. Well, today we're going to be talking about Tales of the Empire, along with our usual pre-main topic discussion of any news. There's been some Yoda got assassinated in Fortnite. I think that's the only other really big thing
Rest
right
in
now.
peace, King.
So, yeah, it's you never expect to see that Yoda had to be removed because when Zoidberg dances, he causes the game to crash. So
Is that why it was? I didn't.
That's what Zach said. It's all it's about. I know the words. I know all the words, but I've never seen them together like that.
Yeah.
So it's crazy.
Does Zoidberg, when he dances, does he make his sound? Like I imagine it's like the clack clack, like the.
Is that a disadvantage though? Because like, wouldn't that just be the worst skin to use? Because then it's there's a Zoidberg around.
That's true. That's true. Yeah, so that's sad. Thankfully, I already bought it, so in preparation for tomorrow.
You have to be able to use it.
Yeah. Because are they removing it or just taking it off?
Well, I think
it sounds like Zoidberg's the problem.
I think they probably made it so you can't buy it right now, and then you can't use it in the game until it's fixed, right? That would have to be what it is.
You better give me my V-Bucks back.
All right. Well,
I put that on the
after you've given up your V-Bucks, it's not coming back. But yeah, so today we're going to be talking about how not knowing what happened.
We got more to talk about. We got an Acolyte trailer.
Yeah, well, I'm just setting up the show, okay?
All right.
Is that not all right with you?
That's fine.
No, okay, no. So yeah, we're going to talk about how our days of not knowing what happened to Barriss have come to a middle. Stuff happened with Morgan.
Have come to a middle.
Yeah. Yeah. So there's the Acolyte trailer. Anything else this week that we've?
No, because last week we had Hunters, but I think that was last week, right? We already covered that.
I think so. Yeah, because that was before the finale. It might have been on the weekend actually, but either way, Hunters.
There's been some Outlaws news which I haven't really followed yet. I was starting to get bad vibes from that game.
What do you mean?
I just feel like I don't know. We're not seeing a lot of it. I don't know. I've got some concerns.
I think there's enough time beforehand that the fact that we're not seeing too much of it doesn't concern me yet. Because like we're just at the start of May, and there's May, June, July, August. Like it's August 30th that is coming out, right? That's still 4 full months, basically.
I don't know. I've got concerns.
Okay.
That's all I'm saying.
All right.
If it's bad, you can all look at me with wonder. No Shrek Damus.
Why would you do that to Shrek?
Extra Damus.
Wow. He really should have come out with that as his sequel name. Yeah. Nostradamus 2 Extra Damus.
And Marmar in the chat says, I have more concerns about Star Wars Hunters. Like, yes, I don't think Star Wars Hunters is going to be very good. I understand. I mean, that's too harsh. It could be all right, but I mean, my expectations are also much lower.
Joel in chat is saying there was an exclusive interview today about the reputation system, so there's some coming out. But like with Hunters, I've already said I'm excited about the game, but even I don't think it's going to be good. Like I don't think anyone's really.
I'm joking.
I think it'll be fine, maybe.
No,
but
it's gonna suck.
I keep seeing people refer to it as like a shooter, like a multiplayer shooter. It's like, is that really what? It's more like a MOBA, which isn't really a shooter. But is it more like a?
You know what it reminds me of? This kind of came to me the other day when I was thinking about my issues with Star Wars Battlefront.
Because you're Nostradamus, things just come to you. Yeah.
Extradamus, yeah.
Yep.
That's like Shaqstradamus, I think is what Shaq called himself. But yeah, so I was thinking about my issues with Star Wars Battlefront 2, and my problem is even when you're just playing a trooper, a lot of the times in that game, it feels like you're a wizard. Like you know, the way that you're like shooting is more like you're casting a shoot spell rather than like you're
Okay.
actually real equipment. Do you know what I mean at all? Or no?
I get what you're saying, where like the ability focus and stuff on. I feel like that's more true of like the unlockable classes than the, like the regular troopers, because like Dark Trooper definitely I can see how you'd feel that
Yeah,
way.
I kind of just meant like the clunkiness as well.
Yeah.
Like I think Star Wars Hunters is going to, in terms of shooting, is going to be that up to like 1,000,000.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I don't think it's supposed to be a shooter. So I don't. I think that
No,
was
it's
always
not.
more the plan, that it's like you are casting. But I mean, that's what I want anyway. So like, I'm not going to complain about that part too much.
Okay, fair enough. But yeah, I don't know. We'll see. I mean, I'll try it. I'll try it. But yeah. So, any other news? I guess people in chat are confused. And by the way, if you're new, this is you can listen to the podcast version of this. I actually just fixed the last episode; didn't go live.
Right.
Tapcaf transmissions. We are going to get into Tales of the Empire. We'll discuss both arcs, but we are going to continue covering news. You want to talk about the Acolyte for a bit? Or, like, I don't know if you want to do a full trailer breakdown. First of all, did you see the like the Phantom Menace exclusive content? I'm going tomorrow.
I
If my
didn't.
son to
I
see the
haven't seen
movie.
it. No. I've actually I haven't seen the Phantom Menace, so I'm looking forward to see that someday. Like I saw there's like that guy with the double bladed lightsaber. That could be cool, but I don't know what happens, so no spoilers on that.
Yeah, it,
Uh,
you can skip it.
okay, I
No, I like the Phantom Menace. I mean,
it's fine.
that was before you were a Star Wars fan, right? So
It was. I think it. I can't remember if it or Attack of the Clones were the last ones that came out before. I mean, obviously, I didn't. I was born after the prequel trilogy or after the original trilogy, but the Attack of
yeah,
the
don't
Phantom
say you
Menace
were
was the
born
first
after the
movie I
prequel
saw.
trilogy.
Yeah, no, I
People
was
will
not.
act like I'm a Minecraft YouTuber.
I The Phantom Menace is the first Star Wars movie I saw, but I saw it on VHS in my cousin's basement. So it wasn't like I think my first time seeing a Star Wars movie in theaters was like Rogue One or something. Because
Crazy.
I don't know if I saw Revenge
It's
of the
crazy
Sith
that you
in
turn into
theaters.
like such a nerd loser like the rest of us, and you don't even have like the childhood aspect forcing it. Like I'm this way because like Star Wars wriggled its way into my brain when it was still very malleable.
Like I got into Star Wars when I was like in grade 6, I think
I
it
guess that's young
was.
enough.
But like none of my friends were into it. So I wasn't going. I don't think I saw Revenge of the Sith in theaters. I might have, but I really don't think I did. But it's possible I did, and I might have just like gone with my parents. But like none of my friends were Star Wars guys.
It was the opposite. Like that's where I see these comments sometimes like it wasn't cool to like Star Wars when I was growing up. I'm like, not my life. Like everyone I was around was a Star Wars fan. Like no one my age got bullied for liking the prequels because we were like the main demographic. But so I see that I'm like, okay. But I'm not saying that's not real. It's just not my experience. But
Well, my
but yeah,
best friend
I saw
had
it a
all the
million. I
pop
saw that movie a
cans.
million times, and I'm taking my son to see it tomorrow.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure he'll enjoy that. It's a very
No,
long
it's
movie for
baby,
kids, but
the baby
yeah.
one. No, I'm joking. My son sat all the way through Avatar, the second one, so this should be a breeze.
Didn't you fall asleep in it?
No, I fell asleep at the second Paw Patrol movie though, on purpose.
Okay, that's
Because
fair.
it was a birthday party. Yeah, my son's birthday party. So there wasn't any room for anyone else. And like all the kids, we took up like 2 full rows. I was like, oh, I guess I'm overflow. So I sat in like the front, one of the front 2 rows, and just
My it's still better than watching Hey Arnold alone in the theater, but that's my most memorable theater experience. But any other? I guess like as Acolyte, there was some new shots in the trailer, but I feel
yeah.
like we're better
We
off
got the
talking about that a
new
little bit
Sith Lord or
closer.
whatever,
Yeah,
or whatever
the
he is. I don't know if it's a Sith or
I don't know if it'll be more connected to like the whole Knights of Ren thing coming up, but We'll probably end up doing like an Acolyte preview show before it comes out, and we'll talk about all the footage together.
Okay.
But
yeah, it's soon. I guess it's sneaking up on me.
Yeah, June 4th. And we'll be
Jeez.
playing some Hunters and talking about Acolyte.
I mean, when does Hunters come out?
Same day.
I'll be done by then.
Well,
have you? No, I'm joking. I will pre-register though.
I feel like we're gonna get at least one Thursday stream out of it, right? And so it'll be at least like June 6th then. Okay. But what were your thoughts on Tales of the Empire?
So I just watched this.
Apparently,
I just watched this. Like I've been so busy, NHL playoffs. So I just watched this today. I was disappointed. I really was. Like each arc, like the idea behind each arc was good, I thought, but like it was like 35 minutes or so, or 45 minutes or so of content for each one, and it felt like it needed to be like literally twice as much. Like for me, each 3 episode felt like it was, a snippet from a longer season. Like with Barriss, it's like, okay, she's like, it is, for one, I think hers was a little predictable. But like there was an interesting kind of her transformation into an old wrinkled woman was probably the most interesting part, and it's kind of just completely skipped over.
Yeah, so like the time jump there with Barriss, it can't have been that long, right? So there's got to be something extra going on with like her healing people and that kind of taking her life force. But
well, I was looking. Apparently, she's the same age as Anakin, so she could be 40.
Yeah, but she looked like she was like older than 40 to me. I don't know. Maybe it's because now I have to think of 40 being young. She definitely did.
Actually, that's in Legends too. I don't think we know. It's like it's interesting because in the Clone Wars, to me, Barriss definitely seems like she's younger than Anakin. Like she seems like she's more Ahsoka's age.
Really? I thought like I would have put her a little bit younger than Anakin, but I thought she was closer to him than definitely than Ahsoka.
I agree with that. I just think like about how she's treated on the missions, like like when they do like the super tank mission, she's in there with
where Ahsoka and Barriss get kind of left aside by Anakin and Luminara.
God, I hate Luminara. She's the worst.
Yeah, she's the example they use with the Trace and Ralph episodes of why the Jedi don't know what the fuck's going on with anyone. So it's kind of understandable that Barriss gets the opinion she has in the Clone Wars that the Jedi kind of suck and are disconnected and ruining everything because she has to spend all her time with Luminara causing those problems.
Yeah, and it also kind of that makes sense about like why she broke her Inquisitor training so quickly. But like what's the point for her? She's an Inquisitor for literally like 20 minutes. It just doesn't really make sense to me. Where like Tales of the Jedi, they were like shorter arcs, but they felt a lot more complete. I actually liked the first arc more, the Morgan Elsbeth one, but like even that, like how did she? The most interesting stuff there, like why is she designing the TIE Defender?
Yeah, that's
like,
weird.
Like why is she? How did she become the whatever the governor or whatever of this planet? Like that's the stuff that I wanted to see, and it's just like I don't get what the point is of such sparse storytelling.
I don't think it's even like I don't think it's even necessarily a difference in how it approached anything to what Tales of the Jedi did. It's just with Tales of the Jedi, we know so much about what Dooku and Ahsoka both did that it was kind of just here's some extra story context for them and here's some cool fights. Where with Morgan and Barriss, this is kind of all the information we have on Morgan's background and all the information we have on what happens to Barriss afterwards. So it's not just filling in gaps, it's also like it's the entire content. I just checked the length of my my copies of Barriss's episodes, and it comes in at just under 39 minutes for the actual footage.
So when you're skipping like the
intro, outro, it's like 39 minutes ish.
Yeah, I guess I just don't get that.
Yeah, like
Because
I
there's
think
a lot to do there. Because
yeah,
you've got rescue, training, defection, and then that's 2/3 of it. Then old lady,
yeah. Like I feel like you could have.
Cars, Tatooine, Sons, just like
I feel like the third episode wasn't. It didn't need to be the jump ahead that it was. So like you had to establish a lot more. Like you could have had that be closer to uh where she was in the second episode, but they all jump around a lot, which is, I think, it does make it so hard to really do much when you have 13 minutes per huge chunk of their life.
yeah. And I mean, you think about it, like 30. You said 39 minutes.
Yeah, they're about there.
So that starts being chopped down pretty quickly when you get 2 minutes of her in her cell, 2 minutes in the ice caves, 2 minutes climbing or a minute climbing the hill. Like it's just I don't know. I understand. We're taking the character at 3 points in their life. I know that worked a lot better for Morgan Elsbeth, but like we're losing a lot of the interesting like transitions, like which is when the story is being told. Like
Yeah.
I guess with Elsbeth we're getting that a bit with her meeting Thrawn, which I liked, and Pellaeon, of course, but it's just weird.
Yeah, like maybe it's just that it works better when it's in the lead up to something we know rather than doing the jumping forward. Maybe that's why Morgan's works better than Barriss's.
Yeah.
Because like if we'd already had some big story about what happened with Barriss after this, and this was kind of like showing the gap between the Clone Wars and now, then I could possibly see that being better. But I think part of it is also just the fact that we now are left with not knowing if she survived or not again.
Yeah.
Do
It's
you think
also
she's dead?
no, probably not.
No.
It's all I don't know. I felt like there wasn't a lot in terms of like surprises either. Like to me, the most surprising moment was like I probably could have told you almost exactly what happened for both of those stories, except for the very ending of Barriss's. But like I don't know, like no twists, no. It's like if I was going to Photoshop smart fill in the backstory, it would probably look a lot like that. Because we know Morgan met Thrawn. Like for Morgan's story, for example, we know she's a Night Sister, so you can assume that based on her age that she was there for Dathomir. We know she met Thrawn and was in the Empire at some point, and we know that she's the governor of this, or not the governor, whatever her title is, of this city. So like there's not a whole lot there that's surprising. And like I'm not shocked at the end when she guns down that New Republic envoy, because like we've seen her do bad things before.
Yeah, and it kind of doesn't make sense that the new like I get what they're going for thematically with a lot of it, but it just feels like because they're so compressed in what they have to do, that like the specific execution, the choices that people are making don't really make all that much sense. Like I know what they're going for with her burning down the forest. I know what they're going for with sending the like with her shutting out the New Republic, but like the New Republic sends 3 guys to kind of just say, "Hey, we're going to arrest you even though we know you're probably not going to be in favor of that and that you probably outnumber us. So we're just going to
Also,
tell
on
you right
what
now you can
grounds?
be arrested." Yeah. Well, yeah, it's not their territory. So it's
Yeah, you can't arrest somebody for not joining the New Republic.
yeah, it's a questionable decision.
That's how you get a Clone War.
Do you
We
want to
just
start
had one of
War?
those.
But yeah, it just felt like there were these things they needed to do, and then that had to happen, regardless of anything else that was happening. They had to find a way to do it, and then it kind of felt disjointed in getting to those points.
Yeah, I agree. It's like I'm not going to put words in your mouth, but it definitely to me felt kind of a bit checkboxy, where
No,
it's
yeah,
like, okay, Morgan, we got our backstory, but like, what's the surprise for Morgan? For me, there wasn't anything, and that's like, I don't know. It's kind of hard to really rate it super highly when I'm not being surprised by anything. Or the visuals were great, but like I'm not being wowed by them at this point. Like the shot on the Star Destroyer and the vendors over Coruscant was really cool, and the Coruscant burning in the background is really cool. But like the fact that you've reached this next level of visuals, it's not carrying the show anymore. If you're not going to do anything really interesting with it, like that's one thing I appreciate about the last few episodes of the Bad Batch. I thought they each had like one or two really cool shots.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I still thought it was visually impressive enough, and especially when this is the show that they're kind of training people up to work on the next series on. I think that makes sense. Like I wasn't expecting it to look as good as the Bad Batch, but like
I thought it looked better than the Bad Batch in some ways.
I think the way they probably end up budgeting the same amount for an episode.
Yeah.
So from that perspective, they probably put a bit more into it. But I wasn't expecting this to be like the debut of new, even better stuff.
I think like the weakness, the one scene that was really impressive technically was when Morgan Elsbeth smashes the sand. I'm like, oh yeah, they've got some definitely pretty complex stuff going on there. But like you get that, and then you get later in the Barriss episode, they go to the town and the child is doing like hiding animation number 3, where they're like, and like it's like hiding animation and the lying animation, like it's like I don't know.
I really
that feels checkboxy. Like she's got to witness an atrocity. Let's have a kid. Let's have the town slaughtered. Like, okay.
But I did really like the backgrounds, and they showed like the matte paintings for that, and the
that was
physical
cool.
terrain props. Those I really like.
Yeah, I agree.
Because I'll watch terrain building videos on YouTube all fucking day.
Yeah,
but
totally agree.
Like
I watch City Skylines videos, and it's basically that.
My thing with the arrest was less that they were arresting her, because they could probably say it's because not just because she's in this territory that's not theirs, but because of the Empire, and they're the New Republic, so
that's true.
They can claim they had all the territory of the Old Republic. There's ways you can do that. It's more you sent 3 guys, and then I guess no one ever cares to go back to Corvus after that. They're just lucky that either Ahsoka or Bo-Katan gets there.
Yeah, why Bo-Katan? I didn't get that either. She's like got Bo-Katan on BBM that she's messaging. Like MSN Messenger.
Corvus isn't even that close to like anywhere that Bo-Katan would be. I get we don't know where Bo-Katan.
Like why Bo-Katan? Like what's she even doing right now? Like isn't she busy?
That's why she's always monitoring the phone lines.
I mean, like I get the idea is that she told Ahsoka, but like it's like, oh yeah, I'm gonna go. I gotta go to a dangerous planet. Let's get some backup. Let me call them the Mandalorians.
It just makes more sense. Like they made it be Bo-Katan because she told Mando where to find Ahsoka, but it could also like it would have made more because this is what Ahsoka is doing, and then like Din can still find out from Bo-Katan by having Ahsoka tell Bo-Katan.
You don't even really need to know that. Like she could just heard whisper. Like who knows? Yeah.
Well, this was just like one thing Ahsoka was doing. So if they're apparently such close friends, they're always in contact. But I don't know. Yeah.
Let me check my Facebook live status. Oh, she's there. Oh, she's got DoorDash too.
They're always live location sharing.
I do love how Bo-Katan is a real ride or die. She picks up instantly. She's like, yo, what's going on? Like no one's there, and she still doesn't hang up.
Well, so I guess that must have been like right before Ahsoka gets there.
Yeah, the timeline's kind of confusing, I guess.
So it would make sense that that's when it is if Bo-Katan's just finding out about it, unless Ahsoka was on the planet for a while and only took a while to run up to the city, but
she just always runs like this with like her lightsabers behind her. So it takes
she was practicing her Naruto run before. That's the only thing she still had to work on. She'd become a Jedi Master in every other way. You got to nail that Naruto run.
Yeah, it's important. It is important. But yeah, I don't know. Like I liked that one more. It was nice to see Pellaeon as well and Rook. Yeah, Rook. It was cool, but yeah.
There was some pretty dumb controversy over that. I don't know if you were tracking any of it, where people were saying that this was just retconning Thrawn treason because that was supposed to be Thrawn and Pellaeon meeting. See any of that?
I don't even really remember them meeting in that book.
They didn't. So these people were getting upset about this, and there's nothing in the book that says this is them meeting for the first time. They're not even in the same scene at any point in that book.
Is that what, like, there's the battle in there?
Yeah, because
Yeah.
at this point, Pellaeon is supposed to be in Grand Admiral Savitz's group, like the Third Fleet, I think it is. And then he only gets transferred to the Seventh Fleet, where we know he is with Thrawn and Rebels, literally as Thrawn is leaving for Lothal, according to Zahn's book. So the only, like, Thrawn speaks Pellaeon's name once in the book, where he says that Pellaeon is more loyal to the Empire than to Savit. And so I think it's perfectly fine to fill those gaps by saying that Thrawn knows this about Pellaeon because they have worked together before, because he's got like Eli scouting out people to help him go back.
Well, yeah,
to
they're
Earth,
clearly like not operating in fully official capacity here.
Yeah.
Like Thrawn's pulling strings, doing whatever he wants. Like he's not, he's jumping around the chain of command. He's not.
Yeah. Thrawn is quite literally putting together a team.
Yeah. He's like big shot gangster, and he's like, he's got the Discord chat with all the boys in it. It's like Rook. It's like Pellaeon, who surprisingly has an anime avatar.
The chat logs got leaked, and they had
really
video.
Bad racist stuff.
It's not good.
No,
that's why they were all promoted by Palpatine.
Yeah, I mean that would match the Legends character.
Yeah. But in the first episode with Morgan, we did get the return in at least a more prominent way of the Witches of Dathomir, who have only appeared in canon before in a short story written by Dave Filoni's wife, actually.
Okay, I actually wasn't sure about that. So
yeah, so they're back for good. They're not quite the same.
The Singing Mountain Clan. They just called them the Mountain Clan.
It was called the Singing Mountain Clan in the book, at least. So they're just yeah, like if you're in the Singing Mountain Clan, you're going to shorten it to the Mountain
Clan.
Wait,
which book do you mean?
It's like it's one of the Clone Wars anthology things with a bunch of short stories about the Clone Wars.
That's the one that Dave Filoni's wife wrote?
Yeah, she has one of the stories in there, and it has Singing Mountain Clan and stuff.
Okay.
But it just feels like maybe they could have stuck her, it would have been nice to know how long she was with them, like see a bit more of her with them. Was she like kicked out immediately for getting the new Ogwyn Joe's kid killed, or like, because we never actually saw how she got in with Corvus or the Empire, and those are kind of the big questions there. So yeah, it's a little sad not having that information.
Yeah, it's like that whole Night Sister purge is like the dark side. Well, not really dark side, but it's like the other Order 66, where it's like you need a character. No, Night Sister purge. They were in that tree over there the whole time. I feel like the Night Sister lore is so fucked up. Just all of the like. So what the fuck's a Zabrak at the end of the day?
Did they just had to import them for? Yeah. So what? Yeah, having it be like the men are this species, the women are this species. It doesn't really make for a.
Mother Talzin didn't. I guess she is, because I'm gonna say she doesn't seem to be human, but like, I mean, obviously she is based on the other Night Sisters we see. So that's stupid, but
yeah, like it might just be that there's a big immigrated population of Zabraks that are with the Night Sisters, and there's also some like men in that section over, or the Night Sisters are split off from tribes, and it's just some of the women that go, and that's how they make their villages and stuff. But I don't think that's that big of a problem, because we know like Ventress got there having not originally been a Night Sister. Like she was Ratatak. She was from Ratatak still, I think, in New Canon.
She was, so Ventress wasn't a Night Sister. See, I don't remember any of this.
Yeah, she became a Night Sister in the Clone Wars. After
there's like Clone Wars has like Night Sister stuff and Mandalorian stuff, whoosh, just gone in and out.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing with the Night Sisters in the lore is that they were one of the biggest examples in Star Wars of like, oh, here's another of those just purely evil cultures that you just get to use when you want a villain person. And they are starting to move away from just that kind of, these are the good races and these are the bad races in Star Wars. And so like you're getting more characters like Marin or even redeemed Ventress who are still Night Sisters and are dealing with like the aftermath of their civilization being destroyed, which both Barriss and Morgan are doing in this show, but they end up going a slightly better way about it than Morgan does.
So, people are saying I don't remember this at all. Ventress was born a Night Sister, then given up, and then oh yeah, I remember this now.
Back. Okay, so she wasn't. Was she still from Attack in New Canon?
Yeah, she was. Wait, ferried the enslaved Ventress. So, in order to Talzin arranged for Ventress's mother to surrender the young girl to Halstead. The Sinitin ferried the enslaved Ventress. Anyways, yes. Okay, but okay, so Ventress is okay. So they're also Zabrak, like, as well.
Huh. Interesting.
Bro forgot the lore. I never knew this stuff. I didn't try to remember this. In and out. So is Morgan Elsbeth a Zabrak?
Apparently.
A human member of the Night Sisters. So I guess there's
just a lot going on there.
There's Zabrak. Yeah, that's what I mean. I don't understand it.
Well, the Night Sisters are a culture more than a species anyway, so it's fine. Doesn't matter.
Okay. Because yeah, like Dathomirian, I understand because you can just say Dathomirian. That's just someone from Dathomir.
Yeah, there we go.
Maybe it's like a Sith thing where like there were native Zabrak on like the in galaxy Dathomir, and then like the Night Sisters from the other galaxy came and they just like intermingled and
yeah, and then there's also the witch clan seem to not be like the mountain clan seem to not be any Zabraks whatsoever.
Right. Yeah.
So I don't know if they're just like an exclusively immigrated human group or if they've always been there. But yeah, ultimately that's just species stuff. So
yeah, just weird. It bothers me. I can't figure it out.
Oh well.
Yeah. Okay. So beyond that, anything else you want to talk about for that side?
I don't just this is not the right way for Morgan to have I guess the other thing with it is on Corvus, it seems like in the first episode that we see them, they would have been perfectly happy with what Morgan was doing if it had actually resulted in them keeping more power for themselves. Because they were getting angry at her for not getting them the more riches from having the TIE Defender facility built on Corvus, but they were talking about how they'd gotten like control of the local systems, and that was still why the New Republic was sending them in, because it was also like other local systems that Morgan had subjugated. It wasn't just Corvus.
Yeah.
So I did like them exploring at least a little bit of like, these are people who became victims of the Empire, but also would have been perfectly happy if things had gone the other way for them personally.
Yeah, they wanted to be rich fascists, not the bottom of the totem pole.
Yeah. They were ready for the sowing, but not for the reaping.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's like I did enjoy all the episodes. I think I like Barriss's more than Morgan's, which I think is the opposite for you. But I know we've mostly complained here, but I did most of my positive talk in my standalone review. But
yeah, I mean, listen, I also enjoyed it. To be clear, I did feel like it was a missed opportunity. I feel like for Barriss, they might have been better off focusing more on like, because she's a conflicted character. Like she wants to like what she does in the Clone Wars is pretty fucked up.
Yeah.
So I think it would have been really interesting if instead of her just becoming an Inquisitor, if they spent more time her being molded by the Grand Inquisitor in the Fortress Inquisitoris. I did like how that was like half under construction, like her fighting and like being manipulated and warped. And then maybe you can have her break out of that when she witnesses like something crazy. But like she was clearly a little unhinged already, and I think it would have been interesting to see, because I feel like it kind of lost that almost, and she went back to being like a bit of a just kind of a Jedi who, I don't know, wasn't
She had a
super
lot of
happy.
time in prison to mellow out a little bit. I
I
think
guess
in that plot, my bigger issue is how off the chain she kind of got in those episodes in the Clone
yeah,
Wars.
she really does.
So I'm fine with kind of walking that back a bit and just sticking with her problems with the Jedi and not having her be the like quite so. It's harder
Like
to
snap.
justify her complaints and then her being able to have a principled opposition to what the Inquisitors were doing. If you stick with the who bomb, I'm gonna just run away and take Ventress's lightsabers, and look at me
I think
being
that's
even
why it's
more evil now.
interesting though, because like she's completely snapped. Um, and like she's lost the plot in the Clone Wars.
Yeah,
So I feel like it could have been interesting to see her like continue further down that direction. Like, is it the fourth sister? Clearly, like she's had something.
Lynn.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Lynn. It's such a Karen name. Has like had something like similar happen. And then maybe like kind of against all odds, it's like she once she's fully on the dark side, then she like snaps out. But I don't know.
I I don't think I would have preferred that. Like, I think having her walk it back in prison and then be back in her position where she's back to the core reasons for not liking the Jedi or what the Jedi had become, where like they only saw violence as the answer, they only saw the war as the answer. Where like so she's still in a position where she'd be potentially on board with hunting down the Jedi, which she thinks the Inquisitors are going to do, and also that she has to kind of play along a little bit to survive,
Mm.
and then seeing what happens with Lynn in that town, plus killing the surrendering Jedi who is willing to give up the order, is what Barriss is probably thinking. Like I like all of that more than having her go like deeper and deeper into whatever the Inquisitors become. Like I
Mm.
because then you really lose her reasons for opposing the Jedi in an equally weird way to where they put her in the Clone Wars.
But I agree, but that is also kind of like how people often fall to the dark side in Star Wars, where like there is a kernel of like it makes sense from the very beginning.
Yeah.
Like Jason wants to save his daughter, Anakin wants to save Padme. They both kind of want to stop the war. It starts off at a pretty reasonable place and then starts to kind of unwind. But I guess you can also say we've seen that story a million times already.
Yeah, and that takes a lot more time to flesh out as a full story than the 40 minutes. So I think having her start from a position where she's not going to be fully on board with it makes more sense.
Yeah, I get that. I understand that. I personally probably would have enjoyed the first episode to be more flashback heavy.
Mhm.
Like maybe we see kind of what she's doing before she has her break, and maybe like the immediate aftermath. Then the second episode, like her Inquisitor training and maybe like falling more to the dark side. And then I would have liked the third episode to culminate with her um, choosing to be good and then kind of end it there.
Yeah.
But I
I
understand why you wouldn't have preferred that.
I did enjoy having Barriss like walk into the room and Vader's there and they're doing like the graduation ceremony where it's just like all the bad kids of the Jedi, where this is just all the people who were in detention at the temple. Like, hey Bear, like Vader, hey Barriss.
It's like you're looking around, you're like, oh Christ, like
This fucking guy.
I got in the worst club ever. It's like you sign up for like a sport. It's like I'm gonna sign up for the school softball team. You show up and it's like all the guys who didn't make the other team. You're like, oh fuck, we're gonna suck.
At least the other team's been completely annihilated in this
That's
timeline,
true.
so they're
That's true. I wouldn't be a part of any club that would have me.
but they're having a few comments about how like for a show called Tales of the Empire, there hasn't been like there's not actually that many Imperial characters who get a huge focus. But that was kind of the same with Tales of the Jedi as well, where the show was about two people who had just left the Jedi. So it's more of a like an outsider's perspective on what they're going to get from that group in the Empire's case, or like
Yeah,
what
it's
the
more like an
flaws of the
eras
Jedi are from
thing.
that. Hmm?
It's more like the era. Like
Yeah.
yeah,
The era or the thing being commented on. Because even
yeah,
though it was about Barriss and Morgan rather than being like Vader and Thrawn directly, like it was seeing how people are reacting to that new system and like how Barriss rejects it, how Morgan embraces it. Because like the Empire is going to be made up of all the people that are making the choice that Morgan and Barriss are right now.
yeah,
And well, made up of the people that make Morgan's choice, opposed by the people who end up making Barriss's choice.
yeah. They go the
But
opposite way.
still, she had her stint in it as well.
Yeah, yeah. That's true. It is like an interesting look at how they go the opposite way.
Yeah. And I don't know if that formula is going to keep being something I want them to do, because like you were saying earlier, it was very easy to predict when this show was announced. I even like I have Twitter evidence of predicting exactly what this was going to be, showing like the two sides of like one embraces the Empire, one rejects it, and showing like what causes those choices. So I hope there's a different kind of foil that gets used, like a different relationship between the two characters for whatever the next anthology series is.
I honestly, this is part of the reason why I honestly think that this format works better in book form. Um, just because like I feel like the Tales series really benefits from short galaxy sweeping stories involving, you know, lots of characters known and unknown, and I just feel like it's a lot easier to pull it off in a book where you can just write the words Darth Vader and he's there, or Luke Skywalker and he's there. I don't know, I just and yeah, I definitely like neither of these have anywhere approached like what I really enjoy from like Tales of the Mos Eisley Cantina, where to me, and they go for different things, like way different. But what I really enjoy about those stories is it feels like when I watch, you know, the Mos Eisley Cantina scene or the Jabba scene or the Bounty Hunter scene in episode 5, even though that stuff was created afterwards in almost every case, if not every case, I feel like I'm getting a little more out of that scene. Like, oh, that's, you know, the bartender, or that's Pondo Baba, or, you know, that's Max Rebo. And I, they've got all these stories that I like that can, if you want, uh, add some context, but they're also just, you know, fun stories.
Yeah.
So I would like to see that from a new Tales of series, but they're clearly going for something different, where
Yeah.
these are more stories. The Tales stories are all kind of about how the characters got to where they were in that scene,
Yeah.
where these stories are obviously meant to tell their own kind of individual thing.
Yeah. Like I think there's kind of two ways to do it, where there's like that kind where you have just even just taking an event that we know happens, like they have Tales of the New Republic and have like 6 different shorts. They're like one's focusing on Luke doing this one little thing, one's like a something about the Battle of Jakku, like things that are adding a bit of extra information, but are primarily just these vignettes in the Star Wars universe.
Yeah.
And the alternative is having it be a bit more like what they have now, but just like pick like one event for the character that you're trying to tell the story about. So it's not like the story marmalade is spread so thinly over
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
one piece of episode toast.
Where you got to go to 3 different eras in a
Yeah.
3 12-minute episodes.
Yeah, because it just feels like, okay, we have these characters that we need to flesh out some kind of story for, and they're getting their story done here instead of somewhere else. But this is going to cover like a decade of their life, and we're going to get 3 little glimpses into their story. But it's characters where we don't already have the other context for what's going on. So, like, if you're going to do that, do it with someone like Luke or Ahsoka or Dooku, who we know everything else going on around them. So seeing Dooku on those missions where we got a little bit of extra context for how he turned, great. Less it
Yeah.
works less well for Barriss, where this is everything for her.
Yeah.
And like if you're gonna do it with Barriss, have it be like, even if you're leaving a lot of the mystery around like where she got, have like just 3 episodes showing that she's already an Inquisitor, she's on this mission, and just focus it around either the events of episode 2 or 3, and then you can flesh that out a little bit more. And you're still leaving a lot of places for other stories to include that character, but it just seems like it would feel a little bit more not coherent, but substantial, I think is the word I'm looking for.
Yeah, I think you got a good point there, where it's like when you do have Dooku and he's a Jedi, you're like, oh wow, I've seen Dooku a million times and I've never seen him in this light before, really.
Yeah.
So that's interesting. But you're right. When it's Barriss, like I don't really think that much about Barriss. So you're really just expanding her story vastly in what I personally thought was in a not really interesting way. Yeah, I think that's a good point. Especially when you always kind of assumed that, at least for Morgan, like I kind of assumed that, as I mentioned, that what happened. Uh, I personally would rather see the kind of the first one that you talked about, where like ever since reading Alphabet Squadron, the third book, I really want to see a Battle of Jakku series, like short series like this,
Mhm.
because like during the Battle of Jakku, there are so many like interpersonal conflicts coming to a head, like completely unrelated to each other, because it's like representing the war kind of ending. Like you've got in Battlefront, you've got the things going on there, where I don't even, I guess uh what's her name and her dad really is the big thing on the crashing Star Destroyer. Why am I forgetting her name? The main character from Battlefront 2.
Oh, Iden.
Iden Versio. Yeah,
Yeah.
so like we got that going on in Lost Stars. I won't spoil it because I know you haven't read it, but there's a big thing going on there in Alphabet Squadron 3. You've got like another major battle that's been playing out over a long time. And like what I like about these and what I think it would work well for an anthology series is that the battle essentially becomes like the backdrop. Um and like it's the force that's bringing all of these characters together, but like the actual fight, when it comes down to it, isn't about we got to destroy this Star Destroyer, or
Yeah.
it's like the battle's happening and then we're fighting our own little fight. And I think that's kind of an interesting approach to take for an anthology series, where like maybe you show how all the
Mhm.
characters got up to a certain, whether it's like Endor or maybe it's not even a battle, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, like I think Jakku, if you're gonna like do an anthology of like different people's perspectives on one event, I think that's like kind of the perfect opportunity for it.
Yeah.
But like, even if it's going to be different events or one event with one character, I think part of the problem is that like with a lot of Star Wars characters, you don't necessarily find out what happened in their life all at once,
Yeah.
right? Like you have, I think Bad Batch having the ending it does, where it like confirms this next 20-year span for those characters,
Yeah.
was actually kind of unique. And for a Star Wars story, when you know you're going to want to maybe use these characters for something else, generally they want to leave their options open as much as possible. But I feel like with Barris's story in particular, like Morgan, we already knew what she was heading for, so it's not going to
Yeah.
be the same kind of situation. But with Barris's, you're telling everything at once, and now it's harder to do anything else with her unless it's
Yeah.
after that part. And it still felt like what we got from it wasn't substantial enough. And like if you have someone like showing what Iden did at Jakku, if you have any of the other characters at Jakku, if you see like Jakku leading into some of the First Order stuff, it
Else, Mr. Bones dies.
yeah. Well, you need at
Strafed by
least
an A-wing.
you can just have a whole Mr. Bones miniseries on its own.
It's true. One sometimes I like where I've seen these characters inserted into major events done well is the novelizations. Where sometimes I'm trying to think. The best example I can think of is the Rise of Skywalker novelization, where it follows the captain of Pride Star Destroyer. I forget her name. But like she's in the movie she's got like a couple lines. She's like fire the big gun or something. But they kind of follow her throughout the book. it works pretty well. I'm sure, I'm sure there's similar kind of point of view characters in the Revenge of the Sith novel, but I can't think of any.
I don't know, because like so much of that is just like the internal monologue for Anakin and Obi-Wan.
That's true. Yeah. I'm trying to think. But yeah.
Oh, I mean, I still enjoyed it.
Yeah, I
just
enjoyed it too.
felt like you could really feel the gaps in their stories. I think is really the core of what we're getting at.
They needed more time. Like, I don't understand. I feel like it would have been a much better series had they just picked one. And like, I feel like dedicating the full time to Morgan would have been better, or to Barriss would have been better. Either or.
I think you can still keep their theme of like showing these characters as foils for each other by having the two separate ones, but focus, like, pick one of the things and do like one episode on, or all 3 episodes on one of the episodes, rather than doing the little pieces we got there.
Yeah,
but because again, that worked for Dooku and Ahsoka. I don't know that it worked as well for these characters.
No, I agree.
All right. Anything else we want to talk about with Tales of the Jedi?
Nope. I do think this is Star Wars. I do think it's Tales of the Empire. You mean? I do think this is Tales of the Jedi season 2.
Yeah.
Based on that one excerpt from the website we talked about.
Yeah.
I don't know whether we will get more Tales of the Jedi. I'm guessing we will get more Tales of the Empire, or Tales of
the
whatever.
Tales of the Noun. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm still looking forward to more of it. I again, like, still enjoyed this. I'm also hoping that it's not too long before there's another like regular animated series as well. If it's like 3 years and we're getting an announcement at Star Wars Celebration 2027 that in 2029 there's going to be an Echo show, that might be a little bit long for me.
Yeah, I agree. Sooner rather than later, hopefully.
Yeah.
I mean, they turned around these animated shows. When did Rebels end?
It was 2018.
2018, I believe. Yeah.
It
was like before The Last Jedi came out. Or no, it was when I just started YouTube, because I remember I lived in Toronto when I watched. I remember watching the Kenobi Maul fight.
Okay, March 5th, 2018. Yeah.
So that was like 1 month after I started my YouTube channel. Or no, it was a year after I started my YouTube channel. 1 month.
So really, Bad Batch didn't come out that much later than...
No.
Well, it started in May 2021.
Clone Wars.
Yeah. And I'd expect now that it'd be a shorter gap.
Star Wars Resistance was... That was only 2 seasons, but that was 2018. So that started like right after, like 6 months or 7 months after. And then we had Clone Wars season 7.
That was 2020.
2020, and Resistance was 2 seasons. So
okay, so it's been pretty consistently something animated
like
being on at the same time.
Yeah, hopefully. I'm guessing that the longest gap was probably between Clone Wars season 6 and Rebels, but
for sure. But that was
shenanigans.
Yeah. One of the biggest gaps was Bad Batch season 1 to 2, though. Too that was a year and a half.
You also got to wonder, like, does Resistance really count? Because like that wasn't their A team on that. I feel like Dave Filoni
was a different style, and
I'd really like to see a 2D animated, or like a traditional animated show.
But it does seem like they're ramping up to have this be a persistent thing that's going on. The big question for me is how the changes to stream, like we talked about this last week, how the changes to streaming are going to impact that. But we'll see what happens. Next week, the plan is to cover The Living Force by John Jackson Miller, a classic Legends author coming back in to
I haven't heard much about this one.
Book. There's going to be some fun hijinks from Jedi Council members. A lot of aerial poof.
I was just grabbing my remote because I wanted to show you this. I was thinking it was this one. My other remote upstairs has a Crunchyroll button, which I just find really funny because it's basically got an anime button on it. Yeah. This one doesn't. This is like my cheapo TV. It does have a Disney Plus button. But sorry, I
Can
don't
you
know
put
why
that back
intros are
up?
doing that. Yeah. It's got some weird ones. Like
Yeah, I was like, what the fuck? I haven't heard of half this shit. There's Plex. I guess that's the
Tubi
media
is
server,
like,
right?
yeah,
Kid,
just kid,
Fubo, Tubi.
just kid. Tubi's actually okay. I've watched movies on Tubi before. It's completely free. You don't need an account. Oh, I watched what's that? Oh, Terrifier 2.
I
It was on
always think of
Tubi.
it as being the same as like Daily Motion or Vimeo or
No,
whatever.
Tubi's like free Netflix. It's like
Okay.
usually lower quality movie. Well, no, that's not actually true. It's just movies with ads in them, but you don't even
Yeah.
need an account. What's funny though is you log on Tubi, and like when I logged on, one of the first I'm just gonna test it. One of the first things that was on there was fucking Terrifier 2, which is like an incredibly gory movie. It's like, oh, what's this? Clown? Oh, it's probably just like an ordinary clown slasher movie. Like probably, 14. No, dude's face getting ripped off and shit. Yeah.
My nephew, there was some like horror YouTube video / game. I forget what it was exactly that was really big a few months ago. And my nephew started like just talking about it in the car, like talking to my sister. Do you not realize what he's talking about? 'Cause it's fucked up.
What
But
was that? What it was?
it wasn't that, but it was something that was just really popping off for a while. But it was a similar idea where like it seemed like it wasn't too bad, and then you get into it, it's like just
We got
horror fuel.
Big Daddy, classic. Oh, look, we've even got Terminator on here.
Oh, look at that.
Step Brothers, Karate Kid. Oh, that's the Jaden Smith one. Never mind.
Okay, if you keep
Days
showing
of
it, we're gonna have to claim
Confused,
we're sponsored. They're not paying us.
Free Willy. Like, there's some good shit on here, and it's you don't even need an account. So
All right. Well, there you go.
there you go.
So next week we'll be back on Thursday next week, I think, for Living Force, not Wednesday.
We'll figure it out.
We'll figure it out. Who needs a regularly scheduled time for a podcast or anything?
Step Brothers is on here.
All right. Well, Justin's gonna go watch some movies.
Boy,
That's gonna do it for
one.
Tapcaf this week.
Okay.
Thank you for listening, everyone.
Goodbye.
Bye.